Well, good evening, everyone. This is KZFR Writing on Air. I hope you're all having a good night tonight. This show is going to be pretty different. We're doing kind of some themed prompts, and I'm here with Jan and Natalie. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, Kevin.
Good to see you again.
I am good, Kevin.
Good. I am glad. We've been giggling much too much before this show, so we're all in a great mood tonight. A long time ago, Jan, you gave us a prompt on birthdays.
I did. I think sometimes a prompt can be a great way to get some writing jump started. And I believe it was a few months ago we put out the prompt, birthday cake.
Yes, birthday cake. I agree with that. Unfortunately, we didn't get too many submissions on them, which it's still open. So if you are hearing this now and you'd like to submit on this show, you can at write.onair@gmail.com, or reach out to me to the Facebook page, which Natalie is doing a great job, a wonderful job handling. She just rolled her eyes at me. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to narrate the facial expressions for her.
This entire show, please do that. It'd be great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and so I wanted to start by reading your piece that you submitted with your prompt, because I think it was a pretty good piece.
Excellent. Well, it's called Birthday Cake. Birthday cake, shared always with my father's mother, New Year's Day, hers to have alone until I was born. Our holiday birthdays, shared always with football, edged out by parades, interrupted by commercials urging, hurry, sale ends today. Special day, unnoticed by friends, home from school, another trip around the sun, eclipsed by vacation time and family time, and often by hangovers. Champagne brunch, shared always with family and once with a friend, not the party with balloons and games or presents wished for. Instead, waitstaff grudgingly sing, bring cakes, my IT beams, sings along, we pucker and blow, wishing. My birthday no longer shared, always wishing for another brunch, one more celebration. Instead, waitstaff presents one dessert, its single candle, licking my birthday cake.
Isn't your birthday very soon, Kevin?
I don't think so. I'm pretty
I
sure.
know it is. He just mentioned it before the show. Just wanted you to know. This is beautiful. I love it. I know Jan's birthday was last month, right? January 2nd. Okay. For me, I related to this a lot because I'm guessing your birthday fell when school was not in session. For me, mine is in July, and so nobody was ever around for my birthday. And I love that line, unnoticed by friends, a special day unnoticed by friends. And it just has this kind of like, this is my big day, and it's going unnoticed by the people that are important to me. And I love that very last line there. It's single candle licking my birthday cake, and the idea of the flame is beautifully written.
Thanks. My birthday was always shared with my grandmother. The word Aiti is Finnish for mother, and that's what we called her, so we didn't get our grandmas confused. And sharing a birthday with her was kind of a drag as a kid. Most kids, my age had balloons and pin the tail on the donkey. I'm old, right? So we did things like that. And I had Sunday brunch with the family. Yeah. So I learned to kind of enjoy it. And then when she died and I had my birthday to myself, it seemed very empty. So birthday cake is kind of a melancholy thing for me.
Full of memories.
Are you still celebrating it in those similar ways, do you find, that you did with is it IET? Do you still celebrate it in those similar ways, or do you do something completely different?
I've done a variety of different things. I've traveled a couple of times for my birthday, and now cake is just not a thing for me. Cake, to me, birthday cake is what the waiter brings you, and it's usually not even cake. We do some family get-togethers, go out, and I have some really great friends who remember me on my birthday now. Probably because I've made such a big deal about it. Like, don't forget my birthday. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a balance there. And sometimes it's front and center attention, and sometimes it's a quiet day.
Depends on the year, I would say.
Yes, last year was a big one, and there was a big big shindig. So this year it was big year plus one, so it was a little more mellow.
I wanted to say too, on your writing style is always so much fun to read because it feels like I'm getting to stand right there next to you while you're experiencing this. It's like it has a tangible presence to it. It's wonderful, which I think is a good time to segue into your book that you've written. That you should
Yes,
tell us
a
about.
a tangible thing. Yes, my book is called Often Overlooked. It's available on Amazon.com. You can search the term Often Overlooked, and the author name is J.E. Mathews, and that's Mathews with one T.
And if you look her up, she will be there. That's always the coolest thing to me when I look up a friend and I find them online. And I'm like, they're like the first thing that comes up. It blows my mind every time.
It is kind of high praise to, Google and have that come up on your Amazon search. It feels pretty good.
Yep. Well, so for this show, and I guess for future shows too, I want to start incorporating every now and then. We don't have to do a whole bunch of them. Kind of depends on when we get submissions. I want to have these theme shows where people who submitted anonymously, which is what we're going to read next because I had a piece that was submitted anonymously to our box. And I thank you for that one because that's amazing. I don't think we've had too many anonymous submissions in the station. That was the first time. And this piece was really cool. But for the show moving forward, I'd like to start prompting some themed episodes and then see if anyone responds to them because that's kind of cool to see like the call and response.
Yeah, and actually really thank you to whomever put that poem out there. One, that was really awesome of you to do that. Two, now we have a box here, which is super cool. So thank you to whoever put that box there for us. And also that we put that on the Facebook page in case you're wondering, it's out there. And we really thank you for that.
Yeah, you guys literally like make this show. As I've said a million times before, we are the picture frame. You guys are the picture. Yes, Natalie laughs at me.
Yeah.
It is the theme of the show.
I can't stand him saying that anymore.
I will say it.
I'm
over
just
and over.
kidding. Keep saying it forever.
Yeah, but you guys do really make this show. If we don't get submissions, we have to either supplement themselves, which is what I had to do in the very early days of this show, and it was not fun. So please keep submitting. Or I have to monologue by myself for a long time, and it's not something anyone wants to hear. But I do want to read this other submission.
Yeah, read it.
Yeah. This one was a pretty short one. It's called Paradise Lost Around the Campfire. Paradise Lost and then 11/8/18. I'm assuming that's when it was written. Birthplace of two of my great-grandchildren. The two, Peyton and Mila. Joy surrounds. Paradise Pines. Are you still there? Black Bear. Happy times there. Beauty all around, memories abound, you will be found again.
Beautiful. And I love this shout out to Black Bear. I'm kind of like the Jack Kerouac of Black Bears. I go to every single one, and I had been to that one with my friend Isaac, who also lost his home out there. And I love that you put that in there. I love that that's for your grandchildren and just very beautifully written. Short, clipped little lines and beautiful presentation. You can't see it, all of you out there, but it's lovely typeface too.
Yes, and I should mention that too. The typeface is very artistic, and I hope that was Mila. I'm guessing.
Mila, I think. I don't know.
Okay, cool. As long as I got the name wrong or right, I should say. But yeah, anonymous submissions like this are kind of make our days pretty much instantly. When I saw this in our box, Natalie and I both freaked out because we're like, we just got a submission. We've never had this before. A physical thing that we could grab. Mm-hmm. It was pretty neat. So if ever anyone wants to, you can. I don't know if we have that address right now, but you can drop it off.
On the page.
Yeah, you can drop it off. Yeah, it's on our Facebook page, and you can drop it off at KZFR if you want to actually bring in something, and you can submit it anonymously like this person did. It definitely brings some joy into our hearts, I guess, whenever that happens, because it's something spontaneous, which is always fun. Mm-hmm. But I think we had another piece, right, from you, Jan?
Sure. We were talking about prompts.
Yes.
And I am on Facebook, or as people a little older than I am call it, the Facebook. And I've tracked down a professor I had when I was at UC Davis, and she was my poetry instructor. So she and I are Facebook friends, and she posts some amazing original work, some other work that she pulls from other people. A lot of times she'll put out several pictures and some writing to go along with it. And quite some time ago, she put out a story looking for a poem. So what she put out was a woman had told her this story about trying to get an ink stain out of her husband's shirt, and that it took her 17 times. That just seemed like poem worthy to me. So I took it on and I sent it to her, and she had written, her name is Sandra McPherson. So if you really want some great poetry, pick up some Sandra McPherson work. She's got a ton out there. Just Google her. She's amazing. She wrote hers from the perspective of the ink stain. Mm-hmm. Mine is a little bit different. So this is called Failure. Crossing her aching, rubbed raw fingers, she leans over to pull the dreaded shirt out of the sink for the 17th time. Holding her breath and closing her eyes, she lifts the soaking blob by the shoulder seams again. Daring to peek at the left breast pocket, she grimaces and shakes her head, evidence along the pocket seam of his carelessness. Reaching for the zout an 18th time, she notices a halo of even whiter whiteness, a round glow, encircling the fading stain, highlighting her failure. In his hurriedness, jamming an uncapped pen into his shirt pocket to shake hands, to close a deal, he, as always, in a rush, so busy, allowing ink access to crisp white cotton broadcloth, where it wandered unfettered. His preoccupation and importance, joining forces with capillary action and gravity, collaborate to draw deep blueness into fabric. With an uncommon level of persistence to remove his failure with her success, and zout, and scrubbing, she crosses her fingers again.
Okay, so I was reading this at work, and a few things stood out to me. First, I had mentioned to Jan earlier, we were talking about this poem, and the first thing that stood out to me was zout is actually a stain remover. And I looked it up at work, and it's even defined as the stain remover that uses the power of 3 enzymes to remove even the toughest stains from your clothes. And the fact that it can't do the work to remove this stain, and she just keeps going back and back and back again to do it. And I love that you use the word again and again, and it repeats in there, and it's beautiful, beautiful, thoughtful poetry that you are expressing this story in such a meaningful way. And even just the close a deal that you have after that M dash and shakes hands, close a deal. And there's an M dash that she uses in that line, which as a speaking in form, I love that's put together like that. Working in business during the day, we use a term like closes deals to talk about sales. And so coming from the perspective of a woman who also does this kind of work with your hands and cleaning, and then also from the perspective of someone who's trying to sell and market and things like that, I saw 2 sides in this story of the kinds of work, the kinds of busy work that we do and how we value them. And I really wanted to ask you where this was coming from. Is this from a personal experience put into this story that you were responding to with poetry? Or is this just your opinion of the story that you read?
Well, it's interesting that you ask. Of the 2 characters, the human characters in here, I think the stain is also a character. I am very much more the too much in a hurry, shove the pen in your pocket, and not the scrubber. Yeah. I'm the, buy a new shirt. Yeah. Donate this one. It's a new dog bed. Maybe I dye the whole shirt, but I'm not going to go after that stain most likely. Before I was a teacher, I was in retail management and in inventory management for close to 10 years. And this is the kind of hurry, don't sweat the small stuff, everything's small stuff kind of job that I had. So I would say that some of that comes from personal experience. I have scrubbed things out. I have children who have their favorite clothing that, oh no, there's something on it. So that Thomas the Tank Engine shirt really needed to have the spaghetti sauce removed from it. So I can see both perspectives here. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Can I tell you my favorite thing about this poem?
Sure.
My favorite line in here is about the collaboration to draw, because ink is something you use to draw, and capillary action is an absorbing, a pulling, a drawing in, and I am a big fan of multiple meaning words. So anytime I can put something in where you think it means one thing but then it means the other, and it might mean both, I think that's a really fun thing to do with words.
It's actually perfect. I mean, I'm sure you planned it a little bit, but we were trying to think of prompts before the show, things that we wanted to kind of like fix on or like look at. And you liked nouns, things that could be taken one way or the other, just like you said. And I think I've decided on the one. I like key.
Key, like K-E-Y, key.
K-E-Y.
An
yes.
excellent multiple meaning word.
Yes, yeah. It could be the musical notes, like I said, or you had mentioned a few others.
Sure. I'm a teacher, so the key to the worksheet, the answer key.
Yes.
Of course, physical keys. You got any keys?
The meaning of life.
I don't have that one. I must have misplaced that key.
Still looking for it.
So I think that's a great prompt. So we're going to encourage listeners to write
Yes.
about keys or a key.
Key, whatever comes to mind when that word hits you. You don't have to use the word in there. Maybe put that as the title or something. Just around that, or use it in any way. We had talked a little bit about prompts beforehand and how they're kind of a cool writing style because they focus everyone to fix and revolve around one idea, and you can approach it from so many different ways. It's almost infinite. As long as there is no cussing. I can preface it with that because this show cannot allow that. I do have to say that first and foremost.
Oh, isn't that what that button's for? The beep button? You
I'm
don't
not
have
quick
it?
enough,
No,
unfortunately.
no.
It's
right.
all live.
Well, I think that's an excellent prompt. And just as a person who writes pretty much a lot and then hardly at all, it comes in waves. If you're feeling stuck, this is a great way to get unstuck, is to pick up just a word and just write that word down, and the first thing that comes to your mind, just start writing. You'll be amazed what comes out.
Yeah, we usually ask people whenever they come on the show, so maybe we'll talk about that in a couple minutes here. What writers would give as far as inspiration or advice to other writers on how to keep writing. And a lot of time we hear, just do it, just sit down and make it happen. I think Rob Davidson was on last week or 2 weeks ago. Yes.
Yes, he
And
was.
yeah, he had a cool one, which was just put pen to paper. Just sit down,
Yeah.
like it's hours of just kind of going back and forth on stuff. Go ahead.
What, me?
I thought-
I thought I was going to read a poem or something.
Yeah, we're getting to that. Do it right now, Natalie.
Well, we were talking about prompts. So there's something called One Day Poem Club here in Chico, but also it's just online. And you're given a prompt and you have 1 day to write. So basically, time is of the essence to get your submission in. And the prompt, this one that I wrote, was kind of really difficult for everybody, I think. And the word was Jack. And that's pretty, like you were talking about, words that could be names or a thing. And we're given a picture too. So you could kind of go with the photo that you're given, which I believe Isaac, the person I mentioned earlier, used a picture of a donkey. But a lot of people went with the idea of a fairy tale like Jack and the Beanstalk, or for me, I did like Mother Goose, Jack and Jill. So the poem that I'm going to read was written off that one word prompt, and it's called Jill.
Another one of those words that has a lot of meanings to it. It's good for a prompt.
Yeah. So this is called Jill. I was a knucklebone gorilla, born the life of the damned, born to learn sleight of hand, and my card that of low-ranking woman. I am nimble, watch me turn, trick to a Jill of all trades, calling all spades, hey spades, on your street corners, promenades, and alleyways. Come out, and stand wherever you are. What you know of us, Jack, will bump the crown off your head, watch you tumble, too classy, to laugh as you fall all the way down. Our alleyways, promenades, and street corners, now we've taken them back.
That's a good piece.
Thank you.
Oh, man. So Jack and Jill. I like that's a good twist on it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I love that the prompt was Jack, but he didn't even show up in the writing. But we allude to him with the hill. And whose idea was it anyway to fall down that hill? You know, was it Jack fell down first, right?
I believe
And
so.
Jill came tumbling after.
Yep.
I like this poem because she's not the follower. She's the leader. And it sounds like she's been through some stuff. What was the... It went by pretty quickly. I don't have it in front of me. What kind of knuckle girl?
Oh, yeah. Let me explain. There's a lot of references going on in there. Knucklebone gorilla actually comes from... so Jack itself could be a reference to the toy Jacks, like, you play Jacks. So a knucklebone actually is the original incarnation of a Jack. And knucklebone is the game that you play with dexterity. And so knucklebone I put in there also as a reference to Charles Dickens, because he says something called "What this knucklebone?" And I never forgot that from reading Christmas Carol. And I just thought that word was so odd that I remembered it. And when I Googled knucklebone, I saw the two words, knucklebone and gorilla, but they were on like two separate lines. And I thought, hey, those kind of look really cool together. And I'm a really dexterous person, so I thought, yeah, I am. I'm Jill, dang it.
I like that, what you said there. Those looked really cool together. I've written pieces on words that I've just found look cool. I've looked at it and been like, I just like that word, like radiant or something. That's actually my favorite word is radiant. And I've written a few pieces just around that word. I start there and then I build the entire piece around it, which is what you can do with Key should you be listening to the show. Go ahead, Jen.
Just with you talking about the way words look, there's you all are more literary than I am, but there's a word for the letters that don't extend above or below, like a lowercase a and a lowercase c stay within the lines, but a lowercase d has the part that sticks up and a lowercase p. So there are words that do not contain any of those little up or down projections. And if you see sentences written without any of those, that also has a very distinctive look.
Wow.
So for me, here's one that I will give you that if you can imagine in your mind, if you see the word bed written in all lowercase letters, it looks like a bed with a headboard and a footboard.
Yeah, it does.
So words like that appeal to me.
Wow. I wonder if we were in China and we were doing this show, we could have a huge discussion on
Come back,
actual,
Kevin.
on actual I don't think it's pictography, but their characters are meant to be representative of pictures mainly. Like when they write things or draw them out, they're pictures of representations of what it is. Like if it's saying the heavens, it looks like a lofty heaven or something.
Do you mean poems written in the shape of the thing it's describing, or are you talking about like...
Chinese character, the language itself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
when
studied a
writing.
little, like, did you know, like, Japanese figures, like, the writing... Sorry, we're going off on a tangent here.
It's good to
But, like, each and every symbol in the alphabet stands for both a letter, but it's also, like, some ancient ghost and some entire story behind it. Each and every single letter. It's really creepy. If you ever get the chance to, like, look something up, there's something you could even go off. Every single letter in the Japanese alphabet. It's creepy.
Yeah, it's the same with Chinese. Their letters are actual representations, pictures. Most of them. I think it's moved into a different direction now, but I'm not an expert in this field, so I don't know. But for the English language, it is rarer to see words that look like what they're talking about. Actually, I think bed is the only example I can think of.
The other close one is cup. If you use the C as the handle, the U as the bottom, and then the P, is kind of round on the other side. So if you can imagine that, those are but they're short words.
Yeah, blowing my mind.
I mean, if caterpillar had a few more things sticking
Yeah.
out, that would be a cool one because it's
Yeah.
kind of long and it's kind of spiky. So
It would take some effort. We could draw in some
Sure.
legs and stuff.
Sure.
Man. Well, we're nearing the end of our show. Jan, why don't you tell us, and I think I've asked this before on your shows, so I'll put you on the spot again. What was the biggest hurdle you had to overcome in writing this book? I want to talk about your book again.
In writing Often Overlooked, the biggest hurdle I had was my own doubt. There are poems in there that I wrote in college, and I graduated from college more than 2 decades ago. So there's some older material in there. But as you have said, when I've read it, it's timeless as well. And then I had some things that were very fresh and very new. And I don't know if other writers go through this or not. I still kind of cringe a little when I say writer in reference to myself. And maybe that's the answer to your question. I think that feeling that you have, that you write something and you're like, that sounds kind of good, and you share it with your friends, and your friends say, that's really good. And then you come on Kevin's show and Kevin says, wow, that's amazing. And Natalie says, I really like this. And you have this great voice. And I feel like I'm standing right there. And you do that. And then you go home and you look at that stack of paper, and it just kind of all goes away, because I was left there with just my words on paper, and my gut's kind of in a knot. Like, who's going to want to read this? So I bought a bunch of copies and gave them to people. So if you ever, if you're in Chico and you go to a waiting room and you see the book, it's probably because I left it there. But my biggest hurdle was having the belief in myself that it was going to be not embarrassing. I just didn't want to be embarrassed.
Well, I have to say that I agree with that. Like, for me, I used to post poems all around Chico, and then I was writing for people in bars, just like writing them random poems for 5 things that they had to say. Any 5 things, and I would write them a poem just to get it out there, just to get my words out there for people, just to know I had a voice. And coming on here and listening to you say that you had doubt, I understand that as a writer. I've met like some really huge names in publishing, and they've even talked about having doubt. And I love that you come on here and you read your work. And I think it's really important to go back home and listen to those affirmations. And that's why I encourage people, please come on this show, because you're not going to be attacked or anything. And then go home and listen to it, and it will improve your strength, your courage as a writer. And that's the most important thing that you need. You may not always find your perfect audience right away, but there's somebody out there that wants to hear what you have to say.
So Oprah, if you're listening, we'll write a book.
Yeah.
We'll come be on your show, right?
You can come on this show if you'd like.
Yeah, sure. Please come down. You get a, and you get a, we'll even give you a book.
Yep,
Everybody gets a book.
And if you're a new writer and you're thinking about just trying something out, or an old one and just want some practice, we do have a prompt. I don't have an exact date on when we're going to air this, and the prompt is key. Write about that, around that, whatever inspires you, or whatever that word inspires in you, write about that. Again, I don't have an exact date for that, but once we get a couple submissions in, we'll probably make a show, and I'll reach out if the submissions aren't anonymous, and I'll let people know when that is. We have a couple seconds left. Natalie, what would you say to someone who is just wanting to try a one-word, like poetry thing, like this, like key? Yes.
What would I say to them?
As advice to get started on it.
Think outside of the box. That was the other poem I was going to read but didn't have time. Do not think within the constraints of the word. Even try writing the opposite of the word first, and then write your poem.
That should be the title of this episode, is Do Not Think Within the Constraints of the Word.
Remind me to read box on another show, though it does have a cuss word, and also incorporate more cuss words into your poetry.
But just not on this show, please. KZFR's rules, not mine. But this is the last few seconds, so Jan, thank you for being here. This was wonderful.
Yeah.
You're absolutely welcome. It is always a pleasure.
Thank you. Well, have a good night, Chico, and I hope everyone stays safe out there and stays warm. It's still pretty chilly out, so talk to you guys later.
Good show.